Hey dudes, this is Teacher Luis again, and this time I'm going to talk to you about quantifiers. So let's see how they work. So this is it, this is quantifiers. And to talk about quantifiers, we need to speak about uncountable and countable nouns. So first of all, we have uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns are the ones we cannot give a number. For example, salt, sugar, and water, okay? They are uncountable nouns. I mean, we cannot say one salt, two salts, three salts. We cannot say one sugar, two sugars, three sugars, because we cannot give them a number, okay? And for these uncountable nouns, we use as quantifiers little, a little, and much, okay? So, for example, Rebecca eats little salt, okay? The quantity of salt Rebecca eats is so tiny, okay? Rebecca eats little salt. Mark puts a little sugar in his coffee. You know, a little is a bigger quantity than little. Remember, little is so tiny. A little is a bigger quantity than little. So, Mark puts a little sugar in his coffee. The children drink much water, okay? For much, the quantity is huge. So, children, okay, drink much water, okay? The question for these uncountable nouns is how much? This is a quantifier. How much salt does Rebecca eat? And remember, she eats little salt. The quantity of salt she eats is so tiny. So, these are quantifiers for uncountable nouns. Now let's talk about countable nouns. And countable nouns are the ones we can give a number. For example, people, we can say one person, two people, three people. For example, cars, we can say one car, two cars, three cars. Or for example, trees, we can say one tree, two trees, three trees. Okay? So the first quantifier for countable nouns is few. So we say there are few people in the apartment. I mean, maybe there are two people or three people in the apartment. So there are a few people in the apartment. Now, the other quantifier is a few. There are a few people in the building, okay? A few is a bigger quantity than few. So maybe a few is like 30, 40, 50 people. So we say there are a few people in the building. And the third quantifier for countable nouns is many. So we say there are many people in the city, okay? The quantity of people in the city is huge. There are many people in the city, maybe 1 million, maybe 1.5 million, okay? The last example is there aren't any people in the mall. Maybe the mall is closed, okay? So we say there aren't, we are denying, there aren't any. When we deny, we say any. There aren't any people in the mall. The question for these countable nouns, the quantifier is how many. How many people are there in the apartment? And remember, there are few people in the apartment, okay? Maybe two, maybe three people. There are few people in the apartment. Now the next question, are there any people in the building? And the answer, remember, is yes. Yes, there are a few. Remember, a few is a bigger quantity than few. Maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe 50 people. Yes, there are a few people in the building. Now, are there any people in the mall? And remember, the mall is closed, so we say there aren't any. So when we are denying, we say no, there aren't any. So we use any to ask the question. Remember, when we asked the question, are there any people in the building? Okay, so to ask a question, we use any, and when we are denying, we also use any. So we say, no, there aren't any people in the mall. Okay, now let's continue with these other quantifiers. They are some and a lot of, or lots of. Okay, we can use either of them, okay? A lot of or lots of, it's just the same. We use some to replace a little and to replace a few. I mean, for example, when we say Mark puts a little sugar in his coffee, we can also say Mark puts some sugar in his coffee, okay? Mark puts a little sugar in his coffee, or Mark puts some sugar in his coffee. And we can also use some for countable nouns. So when we say there are a few people in the building, we can also say there are some people in the building. Okay? So we can replace a little and a few with some. And a lot of or lots of. We can replace much and many with a lot of or lots of. For example, when we say the children drink much water, we can also say the children drink a lot of water, or the children drink lots of water. Okay, so a lot of or lots of can replace much. And they can also replace many. So when we say there are many people in the city, we can also say there are a lot of people in the city, or we can say there are lots of people in the city. So some and lot of or lots of can replace both the countable and uncountable quantifiers. Okay? So this is it. These are quantifiers for countable and uncountable nouns. I hope you find this lesson so useful for you, so profitable, and later